Tell Laura I Love Her and the Controversial Songs of the 1960s. A reflection on music, morality, and social change. Music has always been a reflection of human experience, a medium through which society grapples with its deepest emotions and most pressing challenges. During the 1960s, a decade marked by sweeping cultural shifts, music emerged as both a mirror and a catalyst for change. Amid the burgeoning rock and roll scene and the counterculture revolution, one particular song, Ray Peterson's Tell Laura I Love Her, stood out for its haunting narrative and the controversy it sparked. This essay delves into the story behind the song, its place in the teenage tragedy genre, and its broader implications in the context of 1960s music censorship and cultural transformation. The tragic ballad of Tell Laura I Love Her, released in 1960, Tell Laura I Love Her became a hallmark of the teenage tragedy subgenre, a style of music that captivated young audiences with its dramatic storytelling and emotional intensity. Written by Jeff Barry and Ben Raleigh, the song recounts the heart-wrenching tale of Tommy, a young man willing to risk everything for the love of his girlfriend, Laura. Tommy, unable to afford an engagement ring, enters a stock car race with hopes of winning the prize money. However, the race ends in disaster, with Tommy losing his life in a fiery crash. His final, heartfelt message, Tell Laura I Love Her, is a testament to his undying devotion, leaving Laura to mourn his untimely death. The song's narrative struck a chord with teenagers, who found themselves drawn to its themes of love, sacrifice, and tragedy. However, its depiction of youthful recklessness and its tragic ending raised concerns among parents, educators, and radio broadcasters. Critics argued that the song glamorized dangerous behavior, such as stock car racing, and feared it could influence impressionable teenagers to take similar risks. As a result, some radio stations banned the song, deeming it too morbid for young audiences. Despite, or perhaps because of, this censorship, Tell Laura I Love Her became a commercial success, reaching number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100 and earning a lasting place in popular music history. The teenage tragedy genre, a reflection of youthful angst. Tell Laura I Love Her was not an anomaly but rather part of a broader trend in the late 1950s and early 1960s. The teenage tragedy genre emerged during this period, capturing the fears, dreams, and vulnerabilities of a generation coming of age in a rapidly changing world. Other notable songs in this genre include Mark Dinning's Teen Angel, 1959, which tells the story of a girl who loses her life while trying to retrieve her boyfriend's high school ring from a stalled car on a train track, and Jaya Frank Wilson and the Cavaliers' Last Kiss, 1964, a tearjerker about a car crash that claims the life of a young girl. The appeal of these songs lay in their ability to articulate the intensity of teenage emotions. For young listeners, these stories of love and loss felt authentic, resonating with their own hopes and fears. However, for adults, the songs represented a troubling glorification of tragedy and reckless behavior. The tension between these perspectives highlighted a growing generational divide. For the first time, teenagers were asserting their own cultural identity, driven in part by the rise of rock, roll, and a burgeoning youth market. Songs like Tell Laura I Love Her became symbolic of this shift, as they spoke directly to young people in a way that previous generations of music had not. Censorship and the morality wars of the 1960s. The controversy surrounding Tell Laura I Love Her was emblematic of a broader struggle over the role of music in shaping societal values. The 1960s were a time of significant cultural upheaval, with traditional norms being challenged by new ideas about freedom, equality, and self-expression. Music often found itself at the center of these debates, as artists pushed boundaries and censors sought to rein them in. The BBC ban and the limits of expression. In the UK, the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, wielded significant influence over what music reached the public. Songs deemed too controversial were often banned, a fate that befell not only Tell Laura I Love Her, but also numerous other hits of the era. The BBC's decision to ban songs was typically based on their lyrical content, with themes of death, sexuality, or rebellion often triggering censorship. For example, The Who's My Generation, 1965, an anthem for youthful defiance, was banned by the BBC due to its perceived mockery of speech impediments. Similarly, the Rolling Stones faced scrutiny for songs like Let's Spend the Night Together, 1967, which was considered too suggestive for mainstream audiences. While these bans were intended to protect public morality, they often had the opposite effect, fueling curiosity and driving sales. In many cases, the controversy surrounding a song only heightened its appeal, particularly among young listeners who saw censorship as an attack on their freedom of expression. Race and protest. Nina Simone's Mississippi Goddam. The 1960s were also a time of significant social and political upheaval, with the civil rights movement demanding an end to racial segregation and discrimination. Music played a vital role in this struggle, with artists like Nina Simone using their platform to amplify the voices of the oppressed. Simone's Mississippi Goddam, 1964, was a scathing critique of racial injustice. Written in response to the murder of Medgar Evers and the bombing of a church in Birmingham, Alabama, that killed 4 young girls. With its biting lyrics and defiant tone, the song was a stark departure from the traditional protest songs of the era. Southern radio stations reacted by banning Mississippi Goddam, with some going so far as to destroy promotional copies. However, the song became a rallying cry for activists, illustrating the power of music to challenge the status quo and inspire change. The psychedelic era and the question of drug references. As the 1960s progressed, the rise of psychedelic rock brought new challenges for censors. Bands like the Beatles, the Byrds, and Jefferson Airplane embraced experimental sounds and surreal lyrics, often drawing inspiration from the burgeoning counterculture and its embrace of mind-altering substances. The Beatles' Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, 1967, is a prime example of this trend. Although John Lennon insisted that the song was inspired by a drawing by his son Julian, many listeners interpreted its title and imagery as references to LSD. This interpretation led to widespread controversy and further cemented the song's association with the counterculture movement. Similarly, the Byrds' 8 Miles High, 1966, was banned by several radio stations due to its perceived references to drug use. The band maintained that the song was inspired by a flight to London, but its abstract lyrics and trippy instrumentation left ample room for speculation. Gender and sexuality. Breaking taboos through music. The 1960s also saw significant shifts in attitudes toward gender and sexuality, with music playing a key role in challenging traditional norms. Songs like The Kinks' Lola, 1970, explored themes of gender identity and fluidity, telling the story of a young man's romantic encounter with a transgender woman. While the BBC initially banned Lola for mentioning Coca-Cola, the song's daring themes resonated with audiences, making it a groundbreaking moment in pop music. Similarly, David Bowie's androgynous persona and songs like Space Oddity, 1969, pushed the boundaries of self-expression.